Greetings, everyone. Cindy Drozda here. I am live on my Tool Talk live stream right now, and I'm really hoping that you're getting my audio and it sounds about right. So if anybody's listening and can just give me a quick audio thumbs up or down, please do so. So I am here today to talk about chucks and jaws, and that can mean a lot of different things. I've got a bunch of chucks here, and I'm going to talk about some different things to do with um, the 4-jaw scroll chucks that we use for wood turning, and some of the different jaws and things I might use them for. So we'll see how far we get. I can also talk about jam chucks, which are chucks of their own. So before we get any further along, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. I am in Erie, Colorado, which is about the middle of the USA. You can see kind of where I am in relation to some of the east. Got a bunch of comments coming in here today, and this is really great. I want to hear from all of you about, oh yes, here we are. One tool candy. Yes, indeed. Well, that's what I'm here for. And I'm glad to hear that it sounds good. I'm also excited that my two friends, Lyle and Todd, are here watching. It's perhaps a little intimidating as well. Oh, and Mike, good to see you here. Oh yeah, we've got lots of people here that I've run into all over the virtual world, as it were. And welcome, everyone. I would like to invite you to ask questions and make comments. Please do. I want to hear from you what you'd like to see from me. And upstaging everyone here. Where are we here? How about here? Okay, upstaging everyone here is my good friend Carter. It's springtime in Erie, Colorado, and we're really enjoying having lilacs in bloom. And Carter's feeling good today, and he's out there sniffing the flowers. Before I get into the meat of things today, I'd like to talk about some stuff that's coming up, both for me and others. I do these Tool Talk live streams about every 2 weeks, and it's been kind of every other Thursday. My friend Todd Rains, he does a live stream also, and his are on Fridays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. I'm here typically at noon Mountain, 2 p.m. Eastern. I think it's 6 p.m. 1800 hours GMT, UTC. So join Todd tomorrow at a little bit later than this, and that'll be fun. Oh, and here is something really interesting. Todd Rains and I are going to do a joint sharing and Q&A session next Wednesday, the 18th. And this is where you can bring your work to share, or if you've been to either my demos or Todd's and you've made the project and you want to show how you did it, or ask a question about the process. We saw somebody showing a variation that he had done on Todd's piston box, and we always really love to see that when you take our suggestions and bring them to another level. So please do join us. To sign up for that, you can go to, let me get that into the comments if I can, either of our websites. For myself, what you're going to do is click the sign up for my newsletter button, and then you'll automatically get the links to these, which I do about once a month, and you'll get the link by email. So that'll be really fun. We're looking forward to it. Please come join us. It's free, by the way. Free. Yes, that's always good. And coming up right quick in just over a month is the AAW, American Association of Woodturners, annual national symposium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I will be demonstrating a couple of rotations, as well as I'll be on a couple of of panels about remote demonstrations and other interesting things. My demos will be about maximizing burl figure, June 23 through 26. That's when it is. And you can go to the AAW's website and find out all about it. And, here's the deal. I can't really post links in the comments very easily here because talking and working the cameras and typing, no, it's not going to happen. So after this is over, it will still be up on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And I will put some links in the description for all the stuff I'm talking about here. And if anybody wants to post a link, that's cool. Post a link about anything you want to. It'll be fun. So yeah, the thing that I actually make in the demos will look more like this, an all-in-one foot rather than the added-on foot. And I'll be showing how I take a rough burl and create a balanced natural edge, and a little bit about how the figure displays on different forms as well. So that'll be really fun. That's one of my favorite ones. I'll also be in the trade show. And if you have been to any of the vendor showcase shows that we've done about half a dozen of them or so. Myself, Todd Raines, Woodturning Tool Store, John Jordan Woodturning, Lyle Jameson Woodturning with his hollowing systems, Steve Worcester, turningwood.com, your abrasive specialist, and Joe Fleming at Airbrushing Wood, and of course me. And you can see us in person at AAW and look for some fun we're going to try and have electronically, seeing as we've been virtual friends for the last couple of years and with each other and all of you guys. So yeah, I hope you'll be there. And then on July 9th, I will be doing my next live demonstration. And the plan is to do this waterfall lidded burl bowl. And it's usually a 2-part one. Now, this does not have to be made out of burl. So watch and see how I do this out of natural edge non-burl. So that'll be fun. Okay, so here we are now into the main program. And let's see if I can get some stuff going here. Yeah, the Twitch feed, cool. Twitch is something I'm not really all that familiar with, and I'm experimenting with different platforms. Online demo coming up July 9th. Thank you for asking. And what else do we need here? Please do post your comments. I'm looking to see them. Oh yeah, somebody likes seeing me on Twitch. Cool. And thank you, Mike OB, for letting everybody know. This is free, so yeah, spread the word. You get to me from either my Facebook profile, my personal profile, or my YouTube channel, or Twitch and or Twitter. I can only do 3 at a time, so I'm kind of working on it. So telling me you like to see me on Twitch, that gives me a heads up that's a cool thing to be doing. So that'll be great. Yeah, so I've got a bunch of chucks here. You can see them. A variety of different jaws and chuck sizes and stuff. So I'd like to talk about chucks. If you have a question or comment about the chucks you like, please post them there in the comment section, and I will get to as much as I can. I'm going to move some of these out of the way so I can talk about them one at a time. And we're going to start with pretty much talking just about the chucks and somewhat of how they work. So what we have here is what most people usually see: a chuck that has a key, and you put the key in the whatever kind of gear mechanism it is, and you turn it, and it either opens or closes the jaws with a scroll mechanism. And this kind of chuck here is what they call the Tommy bar or lever style chuck, and it works by the knurled ring here turning in relation to the body of the chuck to open the jaws. I want to talk about these for a bit first because everybody hates them because they say you need 3 hands. You got to hold your workpiece in one hand and you got to operate the scroll in the other hand. And then you got 2 Tommy bars, they call them, that go in these holes and you had to turn, so no, that isn't really the cool way to do it. Here's what you do. What I'm going to do is lock the spindle. And now that the spindle is locked, I can take 1 bar here. And I use an extra long one. This long bar here this is a drift punch, a long one. And I just use this because I get more leverage and it's easier than those short ones that come with them. So now the spindle is locked and I can turn 1 ring. Here's what it looks like. I'm turning 1 ring to loosen or tighten the jaws. I can also just turn the knurled ring if I want, but so I put my workpiece in there and I can hold the workpiece with one hand and turn the knurled ring with the other hand. So what I did here was I'm turning the knurled ring with the 1 Tommy bar. So I don't need 2 bars or 3 hands. I just need a good spindle lock. And if you have a Powermatic and you'd like to know a little trick for getting your spindle lock to be easier to use, I mean the B model, I can tell you. So very good. So now that was my rundown on, I love these lever chucks. And the main reason is that they're lighter and they're faster. Spinning this 1 ring is a lot faster than taking one of these keys and just crankety, trying to get the thing to open more than a little bit. So I really do prefer these. Also, if you travel, they're lighter weight, and that's pretty good. Right. So now that is the difference between a key chuck and a lever or Tommy bar chuck. How am I going to get this chuck off the lathe? The way I want to do this one is I'm going to lock the spindle again. This is a robust, and I lift this thing up to lock and then push down to unlock. So once the spindle is locked, I now can put the bar in either the hole in the chuck body or the hole in the threaded insert that threads onto the spindle. And I'm going to choose to put it into the threaded insert here because when let's see if this may be a better picture of it. No, how about here? Okay, I'm going to knock it with my hand to free it up because it gets on there pretty tight. And when I do that, eventually this hole gets kind of ovaled out, distorted. Well, I don't really want that to happen to the hole in the chuck body, just in case somebody buys this chuck from me and wants to use 2 Tommy bars. I don't want that hole all messed up. And when the 2 holes get both all messed up, I can take this over the drill press and drill another hole or 2 or 3 or however many I need, fresh holes in the insert. So I've had these kind of chucks for 25 years, and I'm really very sold on them. So we got any questions or comments in here? Here's somebody with a conversation going, and yeah, Israeli turners using Tommy bar chucks. Where are they buying them? I think they do still sell those. I know that One Way sells their Talon still, and that's that's a Tommy bar type chuck. Talon, I think it is. Anyway, I think you can still get them. My favorite chucks are Vicmark, so I'm going to show you a couple other brands that I have also. So the Tommy bar chuck, right. Now, what else I've got here is some different varieties of key chuck. They're not all the same. This Vicmark key chuck, and this is a kind of an old one, it uses a hex key, and that's really pretty easy to use because you don't have to, like with this one or this one, where you have a gear ring and you have to engage the key with the gear ring, and if it comes out, it's I think the hex key's a little easier to use. This is here an Axminster, and the Axminster, this is the SK100, their smaller one. They have a larger one. Did I bring one of those over here? No, I guess I didn't. They have a larger one, SK114, and it has a slightly different key thing. I think it's got a square hole instead of having to engage a gear. This one here is Record Power, and it's got that same kind of gear ring engagement thing and a hole to kind of try to locate the key so that it's easier to engage it. And look at these interesting jaws here. So this is Record Power. You can see it's a very small chuck. Let's see how big it is. It is about 65 millimeters across. And that would be like 2.5 inches here. So let's get back over here. I wanted to get closer. There we are. So this is a small one as compared with my favorite Vicmark chuck, which is the total size of the body about just under 4 inches or about 100 millimeters. And so there might be occasions where you really like this tiny little chuck. Now, if we have time, I did have a thing I wanted to show you about the Axminsters that a lot of people actually don't know. So Wood River sells a Tommy bar chuck. That's good to know. And the old one-way chuck uses levers. Yeah, the one-way. Oh, the old one-way uses levers. I've been out teaching and seen some one-ways that were lever style, Tommy bar style. So they must have been old. Yeah. And the SK114, it's got a square key. I've got one. It's over there behind me. I could go get it. But, I have a lot of chucks. If you've ever watched Meet the Woodturner, Pat Carroll's thing on Sunday, every other Sunday, he's got this contest going for who's got the most chucks. And jam chucks don't count. So I didn't even stay in the running very long, but I've got something like 20 some. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little about the jaws and how they go and some things we might do with jaws. Different styles of jaws. Here is your fairly typical scroll mechanism. And this is my lever chuck. I'm moving the ring, the knurled ring, and its scroll mechanism moves the jaws in and out all at once. It's not an independent jaw chuck like a machine shop. And the jaws of the ones I've seen, the brands I've seen, typically have a couple of screws for the jaw itself. This is called the jaw slide right here, what moves in the scroll. And then there's an engagement ring here that your jaw will have a matching I don't know what you call it, ridge that'll fit in there. So I'm going to, if I want to put these jaws on, here's jaw number 4, right? So I'm going to find, this chuck's seen a lot of use in some black spray paint. Right here we have jaw number 4. Well, you can probably read that. So I want jaw number 4. Oh, and I also, before I put jaws on, I want to clean all this up really well if it's gotten all goobered up or anything. And we'll put the jaws little ridge into that circular groove, and you can see it'll stay in the circular groove, and then you line up the screw. Here's a little tip I got from my good friend Alan Zenreich recently. Alan is a fountain of sometimes useful information. This is the key, the Allen key that works the screws to go into these jaws, and I'm going to stick a little magnet on there, and now I can pick up the screw so easy and put it in the hole. This jaw set, I wanted to show this jaw set just for another reason, but this jaw set has only one screw. It doesn't have 2 for both of those. Most of them have 2. So we've got the rest of our jaws here. Let's just get out a bit so we can see more. And we got number 3. We're going to put that in number 3. They are 1, 2, 3, and 4 all the way around. So 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't have to go looking at every one once I figure out which way they go. There's number 2. Screws in there. And this is what I understand to be the proper, if you will, method for mounting jaws onto the slides. We just finger tight the screws in their hole. I didn't crank them. I just snugged them up. And now I'm going to close the jaws all the way and tighten them the rest of the way. What that will do is it will, oh, that's not a very good view, is it? We'll go back over here. It will get the jaws, if there's any slop in the screws, possibly, it'll get the jaws all meeting together in the middle so they're as likely to be concentric as possible. So a couple of comments here. The advantage of having several chucks of the same brand with different jaws. Yeah, that's a really good subject to get into. And what I find is that almost never do chuck jaws fit on a different brand's chuck. In fact, generally, the jaws don't even fit on the same brand's different size chuck. Like, for instance, we got Vicmark here, and okay, and we got Vicmark here. Is that as far out as we go? Yeah, okay. And these are the 2 sizes of Vicmark. This is the VM 120, I believe, and this is a VM 100. Oh, no, this is a VM 90. If you had a key chuck like this one, it's called a VM 100, I believe, and this is the VM 90 lever style. I think I'm getting my Vicmarks right, but anyway, so the jaws for this one and the inserts for this one, insert being some brands of chuck have a screw in or press in or screw on insert to fit different lathe spindle thread sizes. Vicmark uses a screw in insert. You can see just by looking that the one for the little chuck is smaller in diameter than the one for the big chuck. So you can't mix and match between big Vicmark and little Vicmark. What you can do with Axminster is their jaws. Here's my Axminster. Their jaws, you can put the same jaws on their other sizes of chuck. They have one that's smaller than this and one that's bigger. And that's the jaws have a different range when you put them on the different sizes of chuck, but they will fit. That's the first time I've ever seen a company do something like that. So, question here. Vicmark and okay, thank you, Yak. Bulldog is a kind of a knockoff copy of Vicmark, made in China Vicmark, and their jaws will fit their chucks and Vicmark chucks. Another thing worth mentioning is that Vermec makes a line of jaws that fit the Vicmark chuck, and you can get those at what's his name? Woodworkers Emporium in Las Vegas, and they have some interesting types of jaws. I have a few of them here that I can show that I like. So, yeah, sometimes you'll find cross-brand jaw interchangeability, not very often. So usually what you'll want to do is stick with a brand of chuck so that your jaws can mix and match. And I have never used a Nova Infinity chuck. This is a good point that Gary brings up, though, that when you have a line of a brand of chuck and a line of jaws to go on it, quite often you get their jaws and you have slightly overlapping sizes, so you can grab any size of tenon or recess just by grabbing a different chuck or set of jaws. Okay, why have more than one chuck? Well, who likes to fiddle around with changing jaws? Not me. I want to just grab a chuck. Like Gary's saying, this is how I do it. I'll make whatever tenon works well on my workpiece, and then I'll go look for the chuck that'll grab it. So I like to have all of my Vicmarks with their overlapping jaw sizes, and I have mostly Vicmarks. I have lately started trying a couple of other things just to see how they are. And I will talk about this Axminster a little, because I'm actually very impressed with Axminster in some ways and not in others. What is it about the Vicmarks that I like compared to other brands? I like the jaw selection. You can get a lot of variety of jaws to fit the Vicmark brand. Less so for the Axminster. Some of the others I really don't know. Record Power doesn't have as many jaws. What else I like is I bought these a long time ago, and I found them to be a secure hold and relatively accurate remounting, although don't really count on accurate remounting with any scroll chuck. The Vicmarks seem to be better than a lot of them. And, in a way, I'm just giving you a dose of opinion, because are they really better? Well, I had a Nova chuck. This was 25 years ago. I wasn't that impressed. So I bought a Vicmark, and I was very impressed, and I bought a whole bunch of more Vicmarks. And I've been out teaching and seen some things. And one of the things I like about the Vicmark is about this jaw set. Now, don't I have another one? Yeah. This jaw set is I'm kind of getting off the track. I want to talk a little more about the chucks before I got into different jaws. But this is what we're going to call our 50 millimeter jaws. See, there's something like 50 millimeters. And this range goes from, it's about 2 inches. It goes from down to gripping a tenon that's like 32 or 3 millimeters. We'll call it 1.25 inches. I can grip a tenon from 1.25 inches up to And here's my thing about chucks is I don't want to extend the jaw slides out past the chuck body. So we're going to call this the biggest we can go. And it is, looks like just over 2¼ inches or about 60 millimeters. And that to me, that's more of a range than I've seen on, for instance, the Novas and the one-ways, small chucks. And I like that because I go traveling, I take one chuck, I can grip anything from an 1¼ to 2¼ and it really works well for me. I like that range. More on tenons later, of course. Okay, so here is another good comment. Infinity has quick change jaws. So does the Easy Woodchuck. And I have a friend who's got several Easy Woodchucks, and he loves those quick change jaws. So that's another thing coming out there on the market that I have not used personally. But it sounds like a really great idea. Let's see, what else have we got here? Infinity. And Paulo's got a question about the VM120, and that's that big Vicmark. Let's get that one up here again. What I can tell you about it in my own experience is this is a workhorse of a chuck. It is big and heavy. There's a pretty good jaw range for it. My favorite jaws to use for this chuck are actually these deep jaws. These might be called in some brands a shark jaw. They might be called extended jaws. They might, I don't know what they might be called. These are called Stuart Batty jaws, and they're not available anymore. I've had them for a long time. But they're just extended jaws, and what that gives me is something I will talk about later. So I like that chuck because I have had really good luck with it gripping well and not letting the piece fly out. So good good chucks there. Okay. Lettucing? You're going to have to explain that one. Okay. What's size wrong? I missed something there, I guess. Okay, here we are. 5¼ cup jaws. That's the other thing that those extended ones are called, cup jaws, for the VM120. And I like those for hollow forms. All right, so we've got some discussion going there. I think I will go through what I wanted to say about the cup jaws right now. So let's say, why do I want this deep jaw? And here is my main reason why. Let's get on back over here. Okay, that's as far out as I go, unless I do some other things. Where are we? Okay, we're gonna just get the questions out of there. Okay, I've got a lot of devices to operate here. So these jaws, what they will do for me is they will grip a tenon 2 inches, 50 millimeters from the end of my workpiece. So here's what I do when I am making a hollow vessel that's deep like this, is I'll put the tenon up a couple inches up, and that gives me a lot more stability when I'm hollowing, as well as allowing me to have a consistent wall thickness throughout the form. So think about this. If I didn't have the ability to grip this tenon like this, I would have to be like let's just say, I need to make that a little bigger. Let's say I had the standard VM120 or Yeah, VM120 jaws. These are just your standard short jaws. I would, for the same size tenon, I would have all this bulk of wood at the bottom of my vessel. So basically the wall thickness to yield this kind of a, a shape of vessel, the wall thickness in my rough out is going to be like 1.5 inches down here, whereas it's a good consistent 1/2 inch the rest of the way. And so that's why I do it, because my my rough out will dry faster if I have a thinner wall throughout, and I don't really want to be gripping this tiny little tenon or a tenon this small and hollowing it out. Now is another way around that, and that's what Steve Sinner does. Is he has steady. He has a steady rest that he uses on his hollow vessels. So let's get caught up with some questions here. We've got quick change jaws. Yep, go Google easy wood and then that infinity too. How about that? And yeah, you can see I use my tools and I don't baby them, and most of the stuff I've used for a long time. That question about why do I like Vicmark? Because after 25 years, they're still great, and I have not been easy on them. So that's good. The chuck on the right, Axminster. Let me show you the Axminster. In fact, I ought to go get that other Axminster. So let me just, it's just right behind me over here. I'll get the other Axminster and its key. And it is set up to show you something that I wanted to talk about coming up here pretty soon. So this is Axminster SK100. This is Axminster SK114. You can see their body size is not a whole lot different. So in other words, the big chuck is not as much different from the small chuck as, let's say, the Vicmark or the one-way line. And they're, just to give a good plug for Axminster, these are extremely well-made chucks. Most of it's stainless, which the key is stainless. Okay, so I usually keep my chuck keys on magnets. Doesn't work with this one, but it does work with the SK100 key, and I have a magnet over there. I stick it on. Very well made, quality, feels good, tight, grips the piece, the work piece really nicely. Another thing about Axminster that I really like is that they offer this type of jaw, which is called an O'Donnell jaw, after Mick O'Donnell, who invented them many, many, many years ago. So we got any other questions in here to get to? Obi-Wan 9. I don't know who that is, but yeah, thanks for coming on here. Thank you all for being here. And that set of jaws that's sick, I think I'm an old fart, and sick is a modern word for fabulous, I believe. So I'm taking it that way. And I don't know what set of jaws you were talking about there. Yeah, okay, so the Supernova, the Infinity, Nova Infinity must be an upgrade to the Supernova with some slides to latch the jaws on. I have not actually heard of it, but we shall see. So the kind of chucks that I have had do their I need to get rid of the comment and I can't find it, so there we are. They do their jaw change in two ways. one thing you can do is, like I just showed with that set of small jaws I put onto my Vicmark, you undo the screws and take the jaw itself off and then screw on some more. So most sets of jaws is 8 screws, and that's why people buy a lot of chucks, because they don't want to deal with all those screws. But the Axminster, for one, will do something really cool, and that is what I was doing with that other one. I'm going to do it on this one because I wanted that jaw to show something else. So that's the SK114s, and here's my SK100 key. And what I'm going to do is take the jaws all the way out. If I unwind it and keep unwinding it and keep unwinding it, where's my number 4? That's number 4. Number 4 is going to come out first. The slides are going to come so far out of the scroll that they just all the way come off. And I can put another set of slides in. Are you all the way out of there? So here you see that scroll mechanism operating. It's a spiral thing, and to put them back in, what I'm going to do is I'll start with number 4, because number 4 is the last one to come out, the first one to come on. You see how that little end of the scroll is coming right in the frame there? Let's get closer here. So I'm going to put jaw number 4 in here and tighten. And what I want to see is now when that third ring gets into the next jaw slot, this needs to be firm so that I can't pull it out. Okay, it's locked in there. And we'll put number 3 in next and turn the scroll thing. And what I want to see is that it tightens up. Oh, I didn't get it in there all the way. Okay, so that's what I want to check, is I want to get this pushed in all the way, tighten it, and then when the third ring gets to the next slot, I expect this not to come out. Now we'll have to back that up a little. Number 2's next. So the thing I can do with Axminster is I can buy extra of this slide set and have another set of jaws mounted up and ready to go in. I like to hear it clunk. Is it stuck? Yes. So now when I tighten these in, they should all come to the same place. Oh dear, they don't seem to. So I got something wrong here, and I need to start over. But you see, the idea is that I need to start with the last one, or maybe these come out differently. Is that right? Oh no, I did it backwards. Okay. Point being, you can get them in wrong if you try hard enough. So number 4. Oh, it looks to me like maybe Axminster starts with number 1. Is that right? Let's try it. We're getting a little off the track here, I know. No. Okay, number 1. we're going to try doing them number that's anchored to number 3. Anyway, so even with this, what I consider to be a very easy method of owning another set of slides, quick change jaws or simply owning a whole bunch of chucks is way, way better. And I'm not a one to be spending any time fiddling around changing jaws. I did want to have one of these jaws out, though. So we're going to take them out. It might be that number 1 comes out first in this brand of chuck. Which one's coming out first? Okay, now number 4 comes out first. All right, so that's all I wanted to do talking about interchangeable jaws. What I would like to get into is some of the different types of jaw. So let's get into that. And yes, number 1 goes first. Yep. I had it wrong, but you can see how I knew I had it wrong by the fact that they didn't close in the middle. So yeah, it's always possible to get stuff wrong. And one of the things you see there is how often I actually do that. Not very often. I like to have a chuck with every jaw I want to use already. So how do I use the O'Donnell jaws? Yeah, I want to talk about that for sure. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Yeah, some of you are just having a conversation with each other in the chat there, and that's great. I will not necessarily post every comment like that, but yeah, welcome everyone, and I'm really happy to have you here with me, and I welcome your questions. So please do, or say hello to each other in the comments, any of that stuff. All right, so this is the anatomy of an O'Donnell jaw, and the bigger one kind of shows some different things. I want to, before I get into that, I would like to talk about different types of jaws. Actually, let's go here and here. Different types of jaws. This is an illustration of a dovetail jaw. And here is an example of a dovetail jaw. It's got a dovetail to the both inside and outside of the jaw itself. And for a dovetail jaw, I'm going to make a dovetailed Tenant. Another kind of jaw that you'll see sometimes is this. It's I think some of the brands who do them call it a shark jaw. It's a serrated jaw. It's got those little bumps on the inside and the outside. The theory being that it will grip your workpiece better. I don't really care for these because I like a dovetail to grip better than these indentations. And if you want to know a little bit more about the physics, talk to Stuart Batty. He's got a dissertation on why he does not like these. So that's a serrated jaw. And then we also have another kind of jaw, which I'm calling a hawk's beak jaw. And that is what the Axminster standard jaws are. Oh, we'll go this way because I like my drawing. Okay, better. It's got a little ridge right at the jaw face. And Nova has something similar. It's not quite as pronounced of a ridge. It's more like a little angled bit. And for this kind of jaw, I will quite often make a dovetailed tenon. I can also take my parting tool and make a little groove right there at the tenon shoulder for the hawk beak. And I kind of wonder, why do they do this? And I think the main reason is because Axminster, anyway, has a screw chuck insert thing that is milled to fit with this hawk beak profile, and that's why they do it. Why Nova did it, I'm not really sure. Maybe they were going by the same sort of thing as the serrated jaw, that it would bite better. My opinion, and of course you're going to get a double dose of that whenever you talk to me, is I like a dovetail jaw the best, with a dovetail tenon. And then we can talk a little more about tenons just for a minute while I have your attention. I'm going to look for whatever kind of tenon I'm making and whatever kind of jaw I'm using. I'm going to look for jaw face to tenon shoulder contact, because that is where most of the gripping power of your chuck tenon will be. What I don't want is to have it bottom out where the end of the tenon touches the inside bottom of the jaws. I want a little gap right there so that the jaw face to tenon shoulder contact is good. And the dovetail, as you tighten the jaws, it tends to bring it in tighter and bring that tenon shoulder up closer to the jaw face. So, yeah, that's what I like. Another thing I'm going to keep in mind is, like I was showing with the chuck body, I'd like to consider the maximum opening of my jaws, my chuck, to be where the jaw slide is no further out than even with the chuck body, not like this with the jaws sticking out past the body. So as far as tenon goes, dovetail tenon, that'll really work well with any of these kinds of jaws. Although that's sacrilege. There are people who are going to say not to do that, but I've had pretty good luck over the decades. Parallel tenon will work pretty well with all of those kinds of jaws as well, with good tenon shoulder to jaw face contact. I want a straight shoulder so that I get good tenon shoulder to jaw face contact. I can undercut the shoulder, mostly just to be sure that I don't have the opposite thing, which is a tapered shoulder and a tapered tenon. This sort of a scenario is not going to hold well. The piece is going to be much easier to squirt out of the chuck when you get a catch or make a heavy cut. So be aware of that. Now, you'll notice that I did not say that I always make sure that my jaws are closed all the way, except for the little. This is what the common wisdom is. The only size tenon that I should be using with this chuck is the size tenon that will grip when the jaws are almost all the way closed. And that will give me the most amount of contact in the jaw itself to the tenon it's gripping. That will give me the most likelihood of not damaging the tenon. And I know some people like to make a tenon that stays as part of the workpiece, or perhaps a recess, and they expand the outer part of the jaw into the recess. I don't typically do that, but yes, good point. If you want the least amount of damage from your chuck, then this is the size of tenon you should use with these jaws. I typically don't use that as a rule because I will use these jaws in any size from all the way closed to open to where the slides are just at the chuck body. So that's the range I'll use with a tenon. And I personally think that a larger diameter tenon gives me more of a good hold with my chuck than having that full ring contact on a small tenon. So if with that chuck, I would use a large tenon if I can on my bowl vessel or whatever it is. Okay, so do we have some comments here? This is funny. Your wife came home, so you missed the last half hour of witticisms? Well, I don't know, maybe boring and not witty. Wait a minute. Here's what we wanted. And yeah, thank you for appreciating. I do like to share the information that I have accumulated over the years, and I'm always looking to learn more stuff. So when I share, I learn more, and I would encourage you all to share with everyone. And let's just give a quick plug to something that's close to my heart. When you're on like YouTube or Facebook and some beginner asks a really dumb question like, what size tenon do I need? Or how do I dry the wood? Or, can I make a bowl out of this crappy piece of cracked up wood? Be nice to them. They don't necessarily have your body of information. So I always try to take people seriously and give them honest, well-meaning advice, because if you um, put somebody off, if you make them feel like an idiot, they're just going to go away and not learn how to turn and not become part of our community. So I think we all need to be nice to each other. Please do. All right, if the jaws don't touch the shoulders, the piece is ready to fly. And I'm going to second that one. What I meant by the jaw face to tenon shoulder contact is that if the jaws don't touch, and I'm going to get the little depiction of it here. If there is a gap here, then you have contact between the jaw face and the tenon shoulder. If there's a gap instead, would that be there? That means that the bottom of the tenon is bottoming out in the jaws and ready to fly. You're not going to get a good grip on your tenon. It's easy for it to slip out. So let's keep that in mind for sure. Nova 50 millimeter jaws. Okay, works best with just a groove at the shoulder. Yeah, that's Nova has those hawk's beak type jaws, and I have done well gripping a dovetail. Usually when I do that kind of a dovetail tenon, it will look more like just a little tiny tenon or a little tiny dovetail right there at the shoulder. But they're not really made to grip a dovetail. They're made to grip a little groove right at the base of the shoulder. And another thing about the Nova 50 millimeter jaws is that the smallest they'll go is 1 3/4 inches. Not sure how many millimeters that is, but 40 or so. Anyway, my Vicmark has a greater range for the same size jaws, and that's why I like them. All right, so vibration from poor seating of the jaw face to the tenon shoulder. Vibration that leads to quite often the piece flying out of the chuck. And even if it doesn't fly out, you're just not going to get the secure hold that you get from the two faces together. Gripping gripping on the tenon doesn't really grip your wood very well. That's why I always make a tenon. And you might see some people take their piece of wood here. Oh, and yes, this is where I'm going to talk about the what did I do with it? O'Donnell's. If I just have a tiny little tenon like this, you might say, oh, well, why didn't you just put the round piece in the jaws? Because all I'm doing with the jaws is gripping this tenon. I'm not getting any of that mechanical advantage from the jaw face to the tenon shoulder. Whereas if I have this little tenon here and I'm gripping on the tenon, then I have some jaw face to tenon shoulder contact, and I'm going to get a much better grip on the piece of wood, much less likely to fly out, less likely to vibrate, even with that short tenon. And so, yeah, I'll have a better hold. Okay, and thank you very much. Where are we? Paul, 44 millimeters, as opposed to my 1.25 inches, which I think that's like 30 or so. So when I go to teach a class and I'm preparing blanks, and I know they probably have Nova chucks or one-way talons, I have to make the tenons bigger because otherwise I can't grip them. And what else do we have here? How do I hold discs in chucks? If you want to hold a disc, then bottoming out the face of the bottom of the disc in the bottom of the jaws does work, because I'm not trying to hold a long piece. I'm trying to hold a flat disc. And there are other ways to hold discs also, but that would be my ways. I would like to have the disc be flat on one side and bottom out on the inside bottom of the jaws. Nova, and he's made the parallel profile that I show. Perhaps that is this one. This is what I typically do for Nova jaws. Or maybe just a parallel tenon. Is that going to be this one? Yeah. Oops. This tenon will work pretty well for the Novas also. But yeah, that what works the best for any kind of tenon or jaw style that you might have is going to be, again, jaw face to tenon shoulder contact. And as long as I don't have the ultimate bad scenario here of a tapered tenon that's smaller at the base or smaller at the end than it is at the shoulder, and a shoulder that's tapered to where the only point of contact to the jaw is right there in that corner, this is not good, no matter what kind of jaws you're using. And actually, you might be better off to just grip on the piece of wood if you're going to do that. So pay attention to what kind of tenon you're making, because that has more to do with it than what kind of jaws. All right, so here we have our Axminster O'Donnell jaws. And by the way, Axminster and Mick O'Donnell have done some kind of business deal many years ago, and the only chucks you can get with O'Donnell jaws are Axminster brand. And they used to make other kinds of chucks that had these jaws, but right now it's that SK100 and SK114. What it has is I think it's about 5 millimeter deep, little dovetail right there at the end. Inside dovetail, outside dovetail. And that can be used to grip a tenon like this one. You see, I've got dovetail tenon, I've got jaw face to tenon shoulder contact. And so this is very good. The thing about the O'Donnell jaws that makes them sought after, what's great about their engineering is that this mass here supports the tiny tenon much better than, let's say, here are a couple of other examples. This one, this type of jaw, trying to grip this tenon. Let's open it out a bit. It's gripping at the very end of some very thin section jaws. And if I try to grip this in these jaws, they'll spring. Their tightening is at their base, and I'm trying to grip something at their end, and these jaws are not stiff enough for that. These jaws work well if I'm going to be doing something long like that. These jaws work well, but they do not work well to grip a short little tenon. And ditto for these jaws. These jaws I use for expansion pretty much only, to expand into a hole for some products I make where the end of the hole is in this groove here, so I have full access. You can see these. I made these myself because I saw Dick Singh do this, have a pair of jaws like this. He's a machinist, so I thought, oh, I can make some of those. Well, now you can just buy them. It was a lot of work to make jaws. I wouldn't do it again. But these also, they look fairly massive. But the truth is, trying to have the tightening force down here, gripping something way out here. If you try to grip something in the very end, something like this tiny little tenon, in the very end of those jaws, you're going to spring the jaws and they'll probably bend and never be true again. So Axminster has these O'Donnell jaws, very stiff throughout and capable of gripping a short little tenon. Another thing the O'Donnell jaws will do is you can kind of see there's a little step right there. The diameter of the jaw is smaller here than here, which I guess just gives you a little clearance down here if you're gripping something long. The bigger ones, it's more pronounced. But this is what's called a spigot jaw, and you can grip something long in this kind of a jaw. I can also grip the tenon in the spigot part of the jaw with the shoulder on what is the base of the jaw in this scenario. And that works too. So that gives me even more of a tenon range with these jaws. My minimum tenon when this jaw is all the way closed is greater than my minimum tenon when this jaw is all the way closed. So I can grip a very small diameter piece in these jaws. I am the main reason I own Axminster chucks is for these jaws. They're really, really good. Okay, what else do we have for how often do I clean and lube my chuck? Well, when it sticks, I will blow out the slides as best I can with compressed air in both the open and closed position, and then I'll spray some Teflon lube in there. As far as disassembling the chuck to lube it, I am going to admit to being lazy and not doing that very often, if ever. I mostly fix stuff if it's broken. So can I give you 3 of these chucks? Sorry, I need them all. I don't even have enough. I have some jaws that I don't have a chuck for. Oh, it's terrible. Need to buy more tools. Do I have an overall chuck I go to more? Yes, and that would be, and I'm going to give a disclaimer here because a question like that is best answered first by what kind of work are you doing? And for the kind of work that I usually do, which is smaller things, boxes, smaller bowls, this chuck, which is the small Vicmark, the VM90 or VM100, this is the lever style one, with this standard 50 millimeter jaw set. And by the way, the Vicmark standard jaws are about there's about 12 millimeters deep, almost a half an inch. And some of the jaws are not as deep, like the Axminster standard jaws with the hawk's beak are much shallower. And I think this deep jaw gives me just a little more option sometimes. So this is my favorite go-to always chuck and jaw set. That's me for the work I do. And as they say, your results may vary. If you make large bowls, you might find there's a different chuck you go to most of the time that does most of the work you always want, chuck and jaw set. If I were doing hollow forms all the time, it would be this chuck with the extended cup shark jaws. I prefer a dovetail inside jaw. It's got a little dovetail at the very end. And I have these in 3 different sizes that pretty much cover any size tenon I'm going to make on my hollow vessel. So if I'm doing hollow forms a lot, this is the chuck and jaw set that I want. And so I'm going to say it depends what you do. If I was doing bowls a lot, I would probably have this chuck with the standard length but bigger diameter jaws, which I also have, but I don't use it enough to have had it on a chuck. I need another one of these VM120s. All right, so a grip with the jaws open, the 8-point grip. Okay, there's the thing that I hesitate to say that I do. I like that 8 points grip. What that means is, let's say I grip the tenon this big in these jaws. The only contact to the wood on the tenon is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little points right there. And that is considered not good. What I'm supposed to do is tighten the chuck up until it's like, we'll do it on this one because it's faster. So it's like almost closed. And now I have a better contact all the way around to the tenon. I am going to say that personally, I don't follow that rule. But I hesitate to say that because somebody's going to call me on the safety police, are going to get me, and I'm going to be in big trouble. Because the common wisdom is you must do it this way, not the 8-point grip. But I'm going to say that I spend a lot of effort getting that. I have said it a million times today. I'm going to say it again. Jaw face to tenon shoulder contact is what I'm relying upon far more than jaw opening to tenon length contact. So with good jaw face to tenon shoulder contact, I can have a very, very short tenon and get a really good grip because it's not really so much the gripping of the tenon that does the work. It's the mechanical advantage that you get over the leveraging out of the chuck from your tool that you get from the jaw face to tenon shoulder contact. So there we are. How do I determine whether to use a tenon or a recess on the workpiece? I am not a huge fan of using recesses very often because when you're expanding into a recess, it's easier to crack the wood by expanding too far, whereas you can really tighten down your tenon and not usually break anything. So I am more likely to want a tenon than a recess, but how you would determine, it might have to do with what you're holding and how. I mean, I can't really say every scenario, but if there's a reason why having a tenon won't work or having a recess, maybe you're going to leave the recess. This is why I see most people do it. They're planning to leave the recess and not turn it away. It will be part of the foot on the bowl, and they decorate in the center of the recess so that it looks kind of intentional, and maybe they use a very, very shallow recess on the bottom of a platter and make a foot around it. That is one reason why I might use a recess. Typically, personally, I don't, but that's a very good use for a recess. I've seen people do it other ways. Oh, Todd, at his last live stream, showed us how to make a bowl, and he's doing a competition where you want to make bowls fast, and he cut a recess in the opening of the bowl to grip it to do the outside. And there, it's because if he was going to be making a tenon on the opening of the bowl, maybe, or is that what you did, Todd? I can't remember, but there's a good time. You might want to use a recess because the recess is in the waste wood, and a tenon would be wasting wood. Good way to say it. All right, so that's possible. You're going to find that if you ask woodturners, it's not that one is right, one is wrong. It's more like my workflow, my method of working has been to do it a certain way, and that is partly because of the type of work I do and partly because I just started doing it and kept doing it, tooled up for it and kept doing it. And someone else, slightly different kind of work, just a different mindset, maybe different kind of wood they use, might do things completely differently. Neither one is wrong. So to end my live stream on that very wise word, there are often many ways to do the same job, including what I've just been talking about, all these chucks and jaws and things. And you can find many different chuck brands and jaw types that will do the same job equally well. So there's not necessarily, just because I say I like this one and its jaw set, that doesn't mean it's necessarily any better for everyone else. So yeah, a temporary tenon on the inside opening of a bowl, or temporary recess on the inside opening that gets cored out when you hollow the bowl. And he's also talking here about creating a finished foot using either a tenon or a recess that is nicely finished, gripped on the full ring contact, not the 8-point, so that the jaws don't damage the work. And then you plan on leaving that as part of the design and not going back on a jam chuck and turning it away. So yeah, just, another way to do things. So if there's one last question, we'll do it. And within the next 10 seconds. Otherwise, I am going to say thank you all for letting me be here and joining me for another Tool Talk. I will be back in 2 weeks, same time, same station, 2 p.m. Eastern, Facebook, YouTube, maybe Twitter this time, if Elon will let me. So I am going to sign off, and I will see you next time. Good night, all.